welcome back to the Film Grinders podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Hauka, here with David Hollinshead. Dave, what a week for football. Thursday to Monday, you had the best Thursday night game. We were just shitting on Thursday night football, but probably the best Thursday night game we've seen in a year or two. You have college football playoff on Friday, really good game between Alabama. And then on Saturday, you have college football, maybe some not very great games on that day, but college football playoff nonetheless. We won't get into the conversation about two of the teams that got to enter that tournament despite playing in very weak conferences. And then some pretty good games in the NFL. We'll talk about the Chicago and Green Bay game. And then obviously Sunday, Monday, classic NFL games. Kind of a football fan's dream. Gotta love it. Week before Christmas. Good Christmas present to football fans everywhere. But Dave, how are you doing, man?
No, I'm doing great. You're right. That was a great week of football. I think as we're coming down to the end, you're seeing a lot of divisional playoff implications happening. I'm thinking very specifically about the Tampa Bay Carolina game, which if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you're wondering where the hell this all went wrong. And if you're a Carolina fan, you think, how the hell did this all go right? So, two sides of a very same coin.
Yeah, Dave, can you remember a time like a time where the race was this close? Like the difference between a second and third seed and a 6th, 7th seed is a game or two at this point. I hate you. I absolutely hate you. We're too old for that. We're too old for that.
Don't talk about my age right
now. What's my age again? But as
getting back on the track,
race is really tight. Yeah, getting back on the tracks here. Jaguars have an opportunity now to be the 1 or the 2 seed. Patriots are holding on still. It's such a tight race that it can really go anywhere. And I can't really remember the last couple years with the Chiefs and Eagles' dominance in their respective conferences where this has even been plausible.
No, and I guess this is kind of your dream for an NFL season with so much parity, at least with the with everything kind of even at the top, looking for the first seed, there's parity. Looking to hold a playoff spot, parity. I think the only place you're not seeing parity is between the top echelon teams and the bottom, which are very stark contrasts. But like, how do you feel about kind of the parity in those different brackets?
I like it. I think it's great. Now, I will say I would like to see Burrow and Mahomes in the playoffs, right? You don't want to disqualify how great those two are. It's nice to have a little bit of change, though, for sure. And everyone's probably kind of happy to have the Chiefs out of there for a year and have to see them reset. I like how wide open it is, and I really think, especially in the AFC, it's anyone's game. I still think in the NFC, I do think the Rams are the team to beat. I know they lost on Thursday. I still think they are the team to beat come playoff time in 2 weeks. But I really think in the AFC, I have no idea. I have no clue. I think anyone that gets in has a chance, and I think that's super exciting. Maybe we can talk about who we think. We'll talk in the next couple weeks who we think are going to be the teams to beat. But I really think right now, with the Colts losing yesterday, with the Bills in now for sure, I really think they have an opportunity despite not being a good team just because of how good Josh Allen is playing right now. I know this week wasn't his best performance by any means, but holistically on the season, he has been just superb. He is a scary guy to go against right now. Probably the best quarterback left in the AFC.
Yeah, I would agree. I would throw Drake May into that conversation. It's a tough and dumb nickname. No, I think it's funny that now you're like, oh, where's Mahomes? Where's Burrow? When I'm the one pounding the table for greatness to rise to the top. But I think I agree with you. I think Seattle, LA, and Eagles are still at the top of the NFC, and that's kind of their three-way race. In the AFC, though, I think Patriots, Broncos, Bills, and your Jags, as much as that pains me to say because I love shitting on you about that. But I think between the four of them, with the way the Jags are playing right now, you can't count them out. I think they could take on anybody.
I really do think they can, and that'll bring us into our weekly headlines, guys. How about them Jaguars? Uh, this team, when you look at it as a whole, there's not a lot of stars on this team. The resurgence of Trevor Lawrence in the past couple of weeks have really pushed them over the top and got some big wins out of that. But this is a team that didn't have their quarterback playing very well until about a month ago. They had injuries. Travis Etienne was hurt for a little bit. Brian Thomas was hurt and was playing absolutely terrible to start the season. Some injuries on defense here and there, but they find themselves with a chance to get a second or first seed if the next 2 weeks play out correctly for them, if they win and a couple of teams lose. And they look dangerous right now. They're playing as a team very, very well. This is honestly fairly reminiscent of the team 2 years ago, where a little bit different. They started super poorly and then had this massive run to make the playoffs and then gave the Chiefs a little bit of a scare in the divisional round. This is a team that I think, and putting my bias aside as a Jaguars fan, even though I am fairly pessimistic on them, as you can attest to, this team has a chance to make a deep run. And that's not something that I think even hardcore fans thought was a plausibility early on. I said at the beginning of the offseason, we have one of our podcast episodes, I think I said, I think 8 wins would be nice for this team. We're well past that. And they are doing nothing, Dave, but exceeding expectations right now.
No, they're playing great complementary football, and I feel like week after week, the past few weeks here, we've just been saying like, wow, Trevor Lawrence is really making big boy throws. And I watched a lot of that game just kind of last night, this morning, to watch it because it's amazing to see these throws he's making. And he's fitting it into tight windows. He's throwing it to NFL open receivers and only places where his receiver can get it. It's fun to watch, and it's exactly what you kind of wanted from him out of Clemson. When we were talking the other day about what we wanted to do for our What's Wrong With segment, I didn't want to do anybody except the Jags. I wanted to do a deep dive into them. I don't have the time to like break down every team every week, but I think if next week, if we can't find something, like I might want to just do a What's Right With segment and talk about the Jags offense and do a deep dive into it.
I'm all for that. It'll be the week after Christmas, so positive vibes. We could do that, Dave. We'll see. Unless there's something that really sticks out. I think that's actually a good idea. Yeah, as you were saying about Trevor, that's a great Denver defense. Really, really good unit, and he was throwing into some tight windows. He threw that beautiful back shoulder fade to Brendan Strange in the end zone where only Strange could get it. He's really making those anticipatory throws that he was not making a month ago. So it's amazing to see that flip switch. Liam Cohen is doing an incredible job with this team, and I think this brings us to our next point here, Dave. Coach of the year. Obviously, Mike Vrabel has been the front runner pretty much the whole year after those first couple games of the season. Is there an argument that Liam Cohen and him are the space between those two, is that tightening? Cohen, I think, was third or fourth on the odds, but I think Cohen should be up maybe even to second past Ben Johnson. I know they just had a big win too, but I really think the job he's doing is pretty incredible right now.
Yeah, I think it was a 2-horse race between Ben Johnson and Vrabel up until very recently. And I think that's the only knock I might have on Cohen, which isn't really fair, but if we're going to try and draw some lines here, it's that they kind of started a little slower out of the gate. Yes, they look elite now, but definitely I think he deserves to be in the conversation. I'll talk later about young offensive minds and leaving their teams and the effect it has on it with our What's Wrong With segment. But this is why you go out and get young, hot offensive coordinators, because now he's going to be in the head coach role for the foreseeable amount of time. And in theory, if this offense just keeps rolling, keeps adding, stays in a stable environment for Lawrence, sky's the limit. I think he could end up taking it. And if not, definitely an honorable mention.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think people that don't follow the Jags very closely, which is fair,
Everyone.
honestly, right? Like they have not really been a relevant team the last couple years, and then they were, I mean, relevant for 1 year. We're not relevant for 5, and kind of how the Jags work. So, totally get it. But like for me, I have just the utmost respect for what he's doing. Like he inherits a quarterback who's an absolute disaster because of the last regime he's been under. I think this organization as a whole deserves to be commended so much for what they've done. The roster and drafting the last like 4 to 5 years has not been very good for the most part. Starts from the top with James Gladstone and Tony Baselli coming in, really recollecting this roster with good additions in free agency. They had a good draft. And then Liam Cohen putting everything together on the field. Liam Cohen, as I just said, inherits Trevor Lawrence, who is really struggling and manages to keep his team afloat with his quarterback not playing very good, figuring out a new offense, injuries all over. Your receiver, who you think is going to be a shining star in the NFL this year in his sophomore year, has been absolutely terrible. He's been better the last couple of weeks, but just a shell of himself compared to his rookie team. And I think Brian Thomas is about to figure it out, but it was a really tough start. It was really bad. As a Jaguars fan and a Brian Thomas fantasy owner with a stack with Trevor Lawrence in my dynasty league, it was a really tough start to the season. And my record in fantasy shows that. And I'm not going to say what it is. That happens, you really stay afloat. If you look at this team's defense, right, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen are very good players, but you don't really have a lot inside. Your secondary is okay, like they're not bad. But this coaching staff has done such a good job with kind of a lack of stars on the defense. I know Devin Lloyd has had some big splash plays with interceptions and stuff like that, but I would say he's a good player. I don't think he's a star by any means. I think he's having a good year, and it happens to be his contract year. Surprise, surprise. Where have we seen that before? But they're really, it seems that this staff is really unlocking the potential of all these players that have struggled to get going, like Trevor Lawrence, like Devin Lloyd, Trayvon Walker, who we're going to talk a little bit about later for our Breaking the Narrative. He's also starting to come into his own too. They're just doing such a good job of getting every like ounce of talent out of these players, which the last staff really, really struggled with and constantly saw regression. So I think Liam Cohen deserves to be in that top 3 conversation. And I think, honestly, he's deserving of winning it all. I think it can go either way. And I have a slightly biased opinion, but just following this team a lot closer than other people, I really think that he deserves to be in that conversation.
Yeah, they're playing greater than the sum of their parts, and that's great to see. Schematically, I think Cohen's doing a great job of utilizing Lawrence's. Well, he's got him just kind of on the track of playing with confidence, making the reads, making the throws, using his mobility when need be. And if you can get a guy like Parker Washington playing like out of his fucking mind, like honestly, like
yeah.
But that's what it takes, right? You get guys like Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington. That's how you make a average mediocre team into contending for the number 1 overall seed. You elevate those types of players and find what they're good at and put a spotlight on them. So no, Cohen deserves all the credit that you're giving him.
Yeah, and like I think the front office made a big point of just getting football players, right? Like maybe you're not the most physically gifted, but dudes that just compete to the utmost that they can and are just gamers. And that's Parker Washington, right? Like he's not the best route runner in the world. He's good. He's not bad, but he's not like elite by any means. But the guy just competes his ass off, never quits on a play, and does whatever he can to get on the field. And yeah, like he's kind of the epitome of what this Jags team is right now. That's not a household name by any means. He was a late round draft pick or mid-round draft pick, I believe. And yeah, just played his butt off. Like incredible game against Denver. Had those 2 massive chunk plays. He's had a couple of punt return touchdowns this season. So pretty amazing stuff. Speaking of a star player who's maybe not having the best season, his team's not doing too bad, but he's going to find himself watching from the press box the next 2 weeks. Dave, DK Metcalf suspended 2 games for a punch that didn't fully connect.
A Jake Paul punch, you might say. If we're
Yeah.
gonna make a zeitgeist reference here.
What can, like, this is a pretty rare thing. I don't think you see this very often in pro sports. What can we say about this? I don't know. I don't know.
It's stupid. It's dumb. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You are one of the only offensive real talents on that team, and you're pulling this when you guys are fighting for a decent playoff spot. Like, I think they probably have it at this point. I think they might have clinched the division at this point, or at least I don't think the Ravens are going to jump over them.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Actually,
yeah, but I'll talk while you look it up. Like, I don't think the Ravens are going to make too hard of a push. Bengals and Browns are obviously out of it. I just think that this is the last thing you need, and it's just going to kill your momentum going into the playoffs. Maybe you come back full of piss and vinegar, but I don't. It's just so unnecessary. It's a bad look for the league. It's a bad look for you as a product and a brand.
Yeah, so the Steelers would not be in the... Hold on. No, yeah, they would. They're... Why is... This NFL playoff picture thing is kind of dumb. What the heck is this? Yeah, because they're leading their division right now. Yeah, okay, no, yeah, they would be in the playoffs right now. They're 9-6. Yeah. And then
where
the
Mike
Ravens
Tomlin
are
7-8.
Seems
to be 9.
Yeah, right. But yeah, like, just a terrible situation for DK Metcalf, right? Like, yeah, he's the primary weapon on this offense. The rest of this offense kind of resembles like a beer league flag football team that just knows how to be in the right spot. They're not explosive at all, but Rodgers is making it work. Your defense is solid. Schematically, you guys do the same thing since like 1993, but it kind of works sometimes because you have really sick edge in TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, and you just kind of do enough. And now Mike Tomlin finds a way to make this team successful, but now your best weapon isn't going to be available for the last 2 weeks that are crucial in this season. And it looks like you're still going to make the playoffs, but if they lose out and Baltimore figures out a way, like, I don't know.
It's putting your team in a bad situation at this point, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, we talk about teams that are getting hot going into the playoffs, Jaguars, of course, being one of them. Denver and New England, obviously, still rolling. This just kills that momentum and just puts a negative press on your team that really doesn't need to be there right now. And, like, what could that guy possibly said that you're like, you know what's the right decision right now? Giving him a right hook. This is a good idea.
Well, you never know. Fans are pretty wild sometimes because they think they're kind of like protected, but DK is a lot smarter than that, and I'm sure that will not happen again. Hopefully he gets a shot to be back for the playoffs because he is a fun player to watch. Speaking of, not speaking of playoffs, a team that's not going to be in the playoffs and for the first time in years are talking about other things come playoff time other than contending for Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs announced new stadium deal in the works, Dave. They're going to be in Truly, Kansas, because I believe they are...
in Missouri.
Not. Yeah, they're in Missouri. Yeah. So in Truly, Kansas, I think it's right off of the highway there. So I think it's better, more accessible. They want to be able to host a Super Bowl, and that makes that plausible. But going to be an indoor stadium, apparently. How do you feel about that? I think there's really something about the aesthetic of Kansas City in the winter. It's freezing cold come playoff time. The stadium is packed with the sea of red, everyone doing the tomahawk chop and everything. Like, I feel like there's a certain aesthetic to that that's going to be lost by this indoor stadium. Am I just an old man yelling at a cloud, or?
Well, if you're not, then I definitely am, because living in Vancouver, we are blessed with an indoor stadium, and I love having an indoor stadium, if I'm being honest. Yeah, keep me cozy. I don't want to go to a game and be miserable. I want to stay warm and nice, and I do think it adds a advantage. We kind of talk about this sometimes. Indoor teams, if 50% of your games are indoors, it's just an inherent advantage. I think every team should probably play inside unless you're like in Florida or something, in California. I just think it's better for the fan experience. I think it's better for the product on the field. Take the weather element out of it too, right? Like no snow plow games in Kansas City anymore.
You know who probably agrees with you is Tua.
He would be right with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you. I like the outdoor. I like the outdoor atmosphere because usually in KC in the come playoff time, it's not like super snowy and the field's not absolutely destroyed. It's just cold. Like I like it. Real man's football. Dave got to be able to run the ball to win playoff games. Yeah, of course, the quarterback passing game coordinator guy would disagree with that.
Yeah. No, I'm a bitch. Put me indoors. Let me be cozy. Let me enjoy my beer. Nick, you work in professional fucking football, okay? Do you want to be holding that camera in the freezing cold, or do you want to be nice and cozy and warm?
Well, see, I only do home games, so
which are
in the nice indoor stadium.
There you go. See,
so I never have to worry about.
So that. You never have to worry about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Think about the people in your situation. Think about the people in my situation.
I suppose so. Whatever.
Typical Gemini. Can't be empathetic.
Speaking of a beautiful outdoor game, Dave, Thursday night football, we were just kind of shitting on it, and I still stick by my stance despite what the people of TikTok may say about it. A game that proved us wrong for 1 week, and probably only 1 week this season. Rams Seahawks, all-time classic in an outdoor venue, Dave. Beautiful outdoor Seattle. But yeah, no, a really good game that came down to the wire. I think a lot of people did. I thought the game was over midway through the third quarter when Sam Darnold started to look lost. But what a job by him to recollect himself and lead a massive comeback. I know Rashid Shaheed and the Seahawks defense were a big part of that, with Shaheed's punt return defense hunkering down, getting some stops when they needed it. But what a bounce back by Darnold, and a weird 2-point play, and the Seahawks find themselves with a overtime win.
No, like you're right. And if there was going to be two teams that proved us wrong, it would be these two teams that just absolutely hate each other, have all the film in the world on each other, and just go and beat the living hell out of each other. But you're right. We were proved wrong this 1 week, this one time. I don't expect to see this on every Thursday night game. But no, total clash of the Titans. I think this is one of those games that we talked about at the beginning of the show of, playoff implications and trying to build the momentum going in. And if this is a playoff matchup we see, I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. They've already played twice. Both games have been, well, the first game was good for a bit, and then Sam Darnold kind of collapsed, but it was tight to the end in that one. And this one, what a job by him being mentally tough. Darnold's always been a guy that, like, I remember coming out of college, was not very high on him. I remember all this talk about him being pro ready and all this stuff. And then I remember watching, like, there were 4 to 5 clips a game of him at USC throwing off of his back foot into like double and triple coverage. And I'm like, what are we talking about here, guys? Like, but he's really figured it out the last couple years. A testament to what can happen if you're actually patient with a quarterback, and put him in a good situation. He got coaching by Kevin O'Connell. Now with Clint Kubiak, again, kind of similar scheme with the tight splits, etc. Kubiak probably takes that to an extreme level, but it works. I actually think we don't need to get too much into that, but I think from a defensive perspective, I actually really don't like going against those tight splits. So good stuff by Clint, and Sam has looked good, and what a job to recollect after just an abysmal quarter and a bit by him. So a lot of quarterbacks would fold there. He did not. He persevered through, and the Seahawks get a big win because of it. Speaking of persevering, another comeback victory. The Chicago Bears, primetime Saturday. We had 4 primetime games this week. Doesn't get much better than that. Packers fans feeling a little PTSD perhaps from a NFC Championship game from 2014. Onside kick recovery. This time, not to a third string tight end, but to a starting receiver who mishandles the ball. Caleb Williams drives them downfield for the tying touchdown. And then, Dave, a little bit of a skinny post for the win to DJ Moore that looked very reminiscent of Javon Curse. Catching a ball over Tramon Williams. This was on the opposite side of the field, a little deeper on his stem there, but nonetheless, very, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little bit of deja vu there as they lose in a similar fashion. What a win by the Bears after looking like the game was completely over with about 3 minutes left.
Yeah, and there's a couple great things you can point to. One being how kind of low scoring it was. So obviously Ben Johnson offensive line, but hey, your defense kind of held good. And yeah, Malik Willis played a decent amount in that game, so you can say what you will about that. And I can keep talking about Kyle Monig. I can't say his name. I really can't. Running back for the Bears. That's not DeAndre Swift. The other one. He's having like a... I can't say his name.
Manungai. It's Manungai. Manungai.
Manungai having a stellar season, being the thunder and lightning punch with Swift. But I do want to give the flowers to... Flowers, we haven't used that one in a while. I do want to give the flowers to Caleb Williams. Like, there's always been a lot of talk about his mental toughness and his mental makeup. And if you're going to drive down the field twice and make these incredible throws, like, yes, on the tying touchdown that sent them to overtime, he was wide open, which is fair. You can make that point. But it was very reminiscent of a Steph Curry type shot. And I know the broadcast said that too, so I'm going to steal it. But like just making that fade away under pressure throw like that and to be able to put it there, it still deserves, in that kind of pressure environment, deserves credit. And even on the game winning touchdown, he was pressure right in his face. He got lit up as soon as he threw the ball, and to deliver a strike like that, he deserves all the credit in the world to get this win. So there's a reason that they have 10, 11 wins and are top of the division and have jumped up, and why Ben Johnson's near the top for coach of the year. Like, they deserve it. And they deserve their flowers.
Yeah, I think with Caleb, again, like, this is the classic first-year development does really nothing for him because he doesn't have a good offensive mind with him as a head coach. Not even as a head coach, but like as an OC. And it was just, Chicago was a mess last year. Yeah. Let's be real. It wasn't quite as bad as Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer. Not even close to as bad, actually. I shouldn't say that. Not even on the same level. But... just not an adequate situation for him to be in. So really, this is kind of his rookie year, as much as you can say, oh, he started a whole year. I don't think he got proper development. There was all those stories in the offseason about how he wasn't supported properly with film watching and all this stuff, and don't know the validity to that. But there's got it. Truth is probably somewhere in the middle there, and that's pretty unacceptable. So good to see him starting to come along. I think once the easy things, he starts doing those consistently, like going through his progressions fully, which he is fully capable of, but making the easy throws, taking the checkdowns, I think you're going to see a star. I really do think that. And the Malik Willis comment, Dave, I actually think he was good.
Yeah.
I think he's fully capable of being like a spot starter, maybe even being given a chance with what quarterback play is right now. Every time he comes in, he's good. I don't think the Packers offense loses a lot when he comes in, to be real with you.
I think that's a hot take, but I think a lot of it has to do with Matt LaFleur, another great offensive line.
For sure.
That offense is still just flying. Like I'm a big fan of Matt LaFleur's offense. I think the touchdown to Romeo Doubs was just great scheme to get him open. And kind of like we talked about with the Jags, there's no one real receiving star on that team, but you elevate the guys around you. You turn average guys into studs, and that's what LaFleur does. And it's fun to watch. And Malik Willis can't just come in and you get the train on the tracks. Everyone knows what they're doing. It doesn't all have to fold just because Jordan Love's out of the game.
Yeah. No, that's true. I would like to see Malik Willis get a chance to start somewhere next year because I believe his contract's expiring. I would like to see him get a shot because I've always thought there was maybe something there. He was super raw coming out of Liberty, but he has an incredible arm. But he is able to throw with touch too. It's not just all just ripping the ball as hard as he can, which we see with guys all the time. He does have a little bit of touch, and I think he's better at going through his progressions now than people give him credit for. So would like to see that happen. Then Dave, Sunday night game. Moving on here, Pats, Ravens, your Patriots come another comeback. Actually, look at that, 3 for 3, coming back and defeating the Baltimore Ravens, who lost Lamar Jackson in that game. Again, just an awful, unlucky season for him, which I hate to see because I'm a big Lamar guy myself. Snoop Huntley comes in, does an admirable job, but there is a definite drop off between those two. And Patriots managed to come back and eke one out, which is a testament of a good team when things aren't going your way. If you're able to pull out those ugly wins, that is a very Mike Vrabel win.
Yeah, I'm gonna move my mic. It's way too far for me. Um, yeah, I think the first half, 3 quarters was probably the worst that Drake May's played since week 3, and maybe as a team that we've seen them play since week 3 against the Steelers. Yeah. But that, like you said, that's a testament of a Mike Vrabel team and a good mentally tough team that they can find a way to win in that situation. And you have to be able to do that if you're going to be a good team and be pushing for the number 1 seed. As a Patriots fan, it's kind of a double-edged sword because half of you is like, okay, great, we have the talent and the mental makeup to be able to come back from this, but also, god damn it, why are we losing to Snoop fucking Huntley?
Yeah, that's fair. Huntley's really good at coming into games and doing that's such a hard thing to do. I don't think people appreciate that. It is so difficult to obviously every professional backup prepares like they're going to start, but you have no rhythm. You're just kind of thrown into a game when you're not expecting it to be even as much as you prepare. And I always think he does a good job coming in, and the offense does drop off, but he keeps the floor high enough where they can still be productive. And they had a chance to win that game, so really good on him. But yeah, like Dave, are you starting to get maybe worried a little bit that this team maybe isn't maybe say a true contender yet? Like they're going to maybe scare a team or two. I know obviously being the top seed and everything like that. But maybe the lack of experience or explosiveness could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're playing with house money.
Sorry, they're not the top seed. They're the number 2 seed.
Yeah, but competing for
Broncos.
But competing for top seed. You're right, and I was just gonna say we're playing with house money right now. Like I think at the top of the season, I said 8 wins was probably I would have been happy with that, right? Like to just double our wins, and we're way beyond that at this point. So the expectations have changed. So honestly, just whatever they do, I'm going to be happy about it as long as they don't get absolutely trounced by the Bills like we've been past few times we made the playoffs with Mac Jones. I think whole other situation. But I think if we just roll into the playoffs and can put up a decent fight, I think Patriots fans will be happy. I won't say I'm scared, but I think I'm just enjoying the ride, and I think a lot of Patriots fans feel similarly.
Yeah, definitely a culture shift from the late 2010s. Mm-hmm. It's okay in my books, I'll say that. Speaking of the 2010s, Phillip Rivers, Indianapolis Colts, pretty good showing against the Niners. Maybe not the Colts defense. That was the worst I think they've looked probably all season long. 49ers ripping them up. Brock Purdy with a great game. Same with Christian McCaffrey and company. But despite the loss, Dave, Phillip Rivers is good. He's legitimately good. He kind of held his water a week ago against the Seahawks team who, again, very tough environment to play in. Plus, that Seahawks defense is legit. Then going against the Niners defense, not quite as good, but just the timing, his control at the line of scrimmage, other than that pick 6, which was a very good play I think it was Winters who had the pick six for the Niners. He kind of like Jonathan Taylor was running like a speed out, and then Warren was running the stick route, and he like stepped with Taylor, and Rivers threw it in rhythm, and he like stepped and then came back, which was a pretty incredible play by him. Luke Kuechly called it out on the broadcast too, which was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw that clip on Twitter, but he's like, "Oh, here it is." So that was kind of cool to see. Other than that, I thought he was really good, Dave. Like, how is this possible that this guy that hasn't played in 5 years can just show up? He's an absolute statue and can't run at all, but he's still a productive player. It's unbelievable. He's a grandpa. He's out there throwing strikes left and right. Unreal.
No, I think he's definitely playing with his kids and grandkids all this time, keeping himself ready. And I know we were critical of it when the signing was first made, but this is why you signed him, right? Because he still has it, and the floor doesn't drop. Maybe the ceiling doesn't exactly raise, but the floor hasn't dropped at all. And yeah, it's inexplicable, honestly. Like, how do you can't even make a comp to any player that's done this before, because I don't think anyone has.
Yeah, you'd have to think long and hard about that one, but like he constantly gets them into the right run play. I knew they kind of struggled to run the ball, but 49ers were stacking the box and really trying to make sure Jonathan Taylor couldn't get stuff going. He sets the protection pretty much perfectly. Like because again, like he has been a high school coach, and obviously as a quarterback for as long as he has, it's like having a second coach on the field. It's like if your OC was capable of playing quarterback. It's wild. And we talked about it last week. Like there's not a lot of players that have the autonomy at the line that he does anymore. And it's really cool to see. It really takes me back to the old days of when we were growing up watching kind of that era of quarterbacks with Rivers, then obviously Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers coming in a little bit later, Favre to some degree. Yeah, exactly. Roethlisberger, yeah, like kind of that golden age, I would say, of quarterback play. So kind of cool to see. And obviously the Niners come away with the victory with new school quarterback Brock Purdy. But that was, I don't know, I really enjoy watching him play still. I wish more coaches would give their quarterbacks the leeway to do that fully.
Retro is in, my friend. Retro is in.
Yeah. It sure is. And speaking of retro, Dave, Detroit Lions not looking like the new brand of the Detroit Lions. They're almost looking like the 90s Lions, where good, not very capable of making a push in the playoffs. So that brings us to our what's wrong with the Detroit Lions offense.
Yeah, and before we pull up the clips, I'm just going to yap for a little bit here. So when both times that the Patriots have gone through a head coaching switch here, obviously with Vrabel and Gerard Mayo, last year there was talk about hiring a Ben Johnson type or a offensive mind, a Liam Cohen, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason is because these young, hot offensive coordinators don't stay offensive coordinators for long. They get poached and they run away for greener pastures, better jobs. And I think what you're seeing is why that happens. And so now Ben Johnson is going to be solidified in Detroit, Liam Cohen, obviously in Jacksonville, et cetera. And we're seeing the offense.
Ben Johnson in Chicago.
Shit, what did I say?
You said Detroit.
But now
same division.
Yeah. But now we're seeing those teams where these hot offensive coordinators are leaving, that there just leaves this such a hole, a vacuum, and we're seeing those offenses just go completely south. And there was concern if we hired a Mike Vrabel or promoted a Gerard Mayo that would happen again, and we would be stuck in offensive limbo for however long. Luckily, I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to have that problem anymore. So I think we're solid. But this is why you go out and get hot offensive young coordinators and why you want to retain them, because now we're seeing Detroit offense fall off despite having pretty much the same personnel. And we're going to get into why or how right now. Okay, so in the meta of offensive run games in the NFL right now, it's very zone-based. Inside zone, outside zone. It kind of takes pressure off of your O-line because they're just kind of blocking a guy in this general direction, right? And it kind of puts more pressure on the running back to just find the lane, hit it, and there's typically some sort of designed for a cutback lane. What we're seeing a lot of Detroit with their base run is duo. It's a gap scheme. It's it's not quite a power scheme because there's not as many pulling guards and such, but it is a gap scheme, kind of more old school. So what we're going to see here is they're going to line up with two tight ends on the right side. And what duo means is basically you're going to have your offensive lineman double team and open up a gap. And your running back's supposed to power your way through it. Your offensive lineman, once the double team is kind of solidified, they will peel up and go to the second level, go to the linebackers, which is great. Honestly, duo is one of my more favorite running plays, especially if you have the horses up front to pull it off. But we're going to see here that perhaps they don't. So we can run the clip here. We're going to see a couple double teams, and we're just going to see linemen tripping on the 30-yard line here, I guess, because it's a really tall 30-yard line. So we're going to see the right guard try and double team into the nose tackle, and he's just going to fall down. Right guard as well, also going to take a false step and end up on the ground as well. And if you're, I think it's Gibbs here. It's just a really tough place for him to live. There's just no hole. The line just gets absolutely pushed back, which if you're going to run duo, is you can't have happen. If you're living and dying on double teams, there's no reason for an NFL offensive line to get pushed back like this.
No, yeah, that's the whole point of getting those double teams, right? Like you have a 2-on-1 advantage. You got to be able to get movement, and Hayward just stacks up that right guard and right tackle like it's nothing, kind of swims them. And yeah, that's the whole point of running this play. And if you can't get any movement, which Detroit was really predicated on the last couple of years, yeah, you can't do this kind of stuff.
No, absolutely not. And we talked about last week with Baltimore, the number system, right? So if we go back to the top of the play and we pause it with the formations. So if we look at numbers, so in my kind of schematic mind, the center and the first person over the line of center, so that would be number 94 here. We cancel them out, so we look everything to our left here. So Detroit, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers. Pittsburgh has 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders. Numbers should be fine. We should be able to run this play effectively well, especially if our double teams work and we go to the next level. So there's no reason why numbers aren't an issue in this play, like they were with Kansas City, like they were with the Ravens. There's just no excuse for this. We got to be able to get a push. And Dan Campbell has made offensive line kind of a priority, right? To be able to just take the kneecaps out or whatever. But right now, if you're not going to get the push and your offensive line is going to end up on their kneecaps, it just ends up being a poor. Like Hayward just swims the one dude to the ground, gets a one-on-one with the right tackle, and is still just able to completely collapse that run gap. And you can't live like this.
It's ridiculous. He's still good at his age too. It's like
Cam Hayward
in his late 30s as a defensive tackle, and he's still that good.
Yeah,
which is wild to me. Yeah, but also like Dave, you talked about the numbers advantage here. Like you're getting an additional guy because Amon-Ra is inserting, and the player responsible for him is all the way outside here. So yeah, you even have a numbers advantage here technically.
Yeah. And then we'll see it again when we go to the next play that I've labeled Duo 2. Very similar thing. We're on the goal line now. We're going to see a duo that double teams work a little bit better. Nobody ends up on their knees. We still have the numbers game pretty well. We're in a 2 tight end set to the right. But the double teams are just completely ineffective, and there's no push. And once again, Gibbs is kind of stuck. He tries to cut outside, find a lane, and there's just nothing there. You don't have the strength. The body's on the outside on duo here. Like, yeah, St. Brown comes in, or is that Tesla?
St. Brown.
I think it's Brown too, yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have kind of the strength on the outside with the tight ends to hold like an Alex Highsmith type player, right?
No.
But this has kind of been the bread and butter of what's been ailing. I guess not bread and butter. What's the opposite of bread and butter? That's been ailing the Rams right now, or not the Rams, excuse me. I still think Goff plays for the Rams, apparently. With the Lions, is that they're getting in these tough situations, and Goff is still slinging it very well, but we're getting in these situations where it's falling completely on Goff to move this ball. And I'm a huge Goff guy, and I've made no secret of that. But if we can't pick up any yards in the previous play, which is at midfield, and we can't get even closer to the end zone when we have the numbers advantage, running a power run play like duo, it just puts you in a tough world. What do we got here? Duo counter. And so before we start this play, one thing I want to talk about is you need to have some sort of you can have answers built into your running plays, right? So I think if you're going to run duo under center, and if your running game isn't working, you need to have some sort of RPO on what would be the left side of this play, right? Like you're going to have a one-on-one receiver on the left side. I know it's not shown here, but I kind of wanted to focus on the offensive line. You need to have at least a two-step drop for the QB RPO type read, whether the corner's in press and the receiver can just run a fade, and you have the horses to do it with Jamison Williams, and QB takes a two-step drop, throws it up, throws a quick hitch if he's playing kind of 7 yards above, or the hard deck as I like to call it. You need to have answers built in, and they just don't have it. They ran duo for the first 2-3 quarters to no effect. Like if you look at the stats, I think they ran for 21 yards this game, which is just tough to live in, right? You cannot win if you cannot run. So they try to put in this wrinkle where they line up. It looks like they're going to run duo again, but instead we're going to have a counter with 2 pulling guards, hoping to get some trap blocks and create some space for Montgomery here. But we're going to see the clip here. Off we go. Same kind of thing. And it's just a big whiff by the pulling guard here. And the defensive lineman makes a play in the backfield. So even your counters, your answers to this aren't working. And there's no excuse to be missing this kind of block. Like, yes, you attack the inside shoulder because you want to be able to wash him out, preferably. But even if we look at the rest of the running play, or the rest of the offensive play, there's no real gap for him to hit the counter on the left side, which is where this play wants to go.
Yeah, Queen scrapes really nicely there. Yeah, there's not really, even if like he gets hands on Highsmith, I don't know.
There's still just nothing. And if that's what we would call in my terminology, we would call our read play. If duo is kind of our rhythm play, the one that we're going to run 10 times a game. And the read is when they start figuring it out, kind of the wrinkle to get them off of that. And we can't execute that either. It's a tough world to live in. There's just no dynamism, and that's a word that I had to figure out in my sleep at 2 a.m. What the hell is that word? There's just no dynamism in the run game here. No dynamic movement, no dynamic plays to open up the running game, which makes life real tough on Jared Goff. Which, let my boy cook. What do we got here?
No respect.
No respect. So we're in a 3rd and long situation because we're backed up on our goal line. We had 2 run plays. Well, we had a 1 run play that went for nothing. We had a screen play that went for nothing. What we're going to see here, they're going to take a deeper routes because we want to pick up the first down. Nick, what's the first thing that you tell your linebackers as a defensive coach to do? What's your first steps?
Well, it depends on down and distance, but typically depends on the fit, but you're either static and you hang and fit, or if you're like fully filling gaps, then you want to take a read step forward.
Sure. These linebackers do nothing to respect the run game. They're just completely bailing. We're looking at a cover. We're not going to get into too schematic stuff. We're looking at basically a cover 4 type look. We got 4 DBs beyond the hard deck, and they're just going to completely bail. The strong safety, or the safety on the left here, just above the 30 at the 25. He's going to sit because Detroit likes to throw deep digs. But we're just going to see guys completely bail and make life really tough for Jared Goff to pick up this first down. And he's going to end up having to check it down. We can roll the clip here now. And there's just nowhere for Goff to go. He has to check it down. And
they're buzzing to a 3 look.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
He's down, he's up. Yeah.
But that's to take away the deep digs that they like to throw. Yeah, he just comes like straight down, but it's to put it in kind of a nutshell and to make it simple, you're not setting up your offense very well if you're constantly in 3rd and long. Defense can just back right the hell up and let your pass rush deal with it. And we'll talk about the pass pros in a second here. But this is just a tough place to live when you have all your DBs just bailing. Protection kind of starts faltering. Jared Goff is not a dual threat. He's not immobile, to be sure, but he's certainly not. You don't have to respect him being a threat here, right?
Yeah, and like that just plays into exactly what defenses want to do, right? You want to get teams into 3rd and longs, and then you can get into whatever you believe in at that point as a defensive coordinator. If you're a Brian Flores type, that is, I'm going to come after you in all of my different looks. Or if you're kind of like a base defense guy, then you're going to rush 4. You're going to have your DB sitting at the sticks like that and have some sort of intricate coverage. And as your pass rush gets home, you rotate like that, like the Steelers just did, to make Goff hold the ball an extra second, and then he has to check it down, right? So not advantageous to being successful.
Not at all. Okay, now we're going to look at, they now switch to an outside zone. They're not getting any movement on the offensive line pushing forward. So they're going to run an outside zone with the split zone tight end, fullback, H-back, whatever, motioning. They just leave Highsmith alone completely. And he just...
Which is not abnormal on this scheme.
It's not, which is fine, but you need to have some sort of threat to hold him, right? Because if he just comes screaming off the edge, especially a player like that, but I would say any average, you could put Cameron Thomas in this position, and he's probably making this play as well. As I said, Goff isn't exactly a threat to take off, so you don't have to think that maybe there's a running threat, but at least have some sort of idea of a threat of a naked boot to the other side. Like, imagine if there was a route coming over the top. I'm pointing at my screen like you can fucking see it. Imagine you have a slot receiver on the right-hand side just running like a deep over, and Goff pulls it and boots to the right.
Yeah.
It would be wide open, right? And that's kind of what you want out of your just offensive play design to make it one cohesive thing. Is you would have that, and if it didn't work, you would have another option to go to a naked boot. But it's the lack of once again, it's the lack of dynamism in this playbook that things don't all look the same. There's no options built into it. It's just, hey, outside zone's a good run. Hey, people leave the outside edge alone. We're going to do that too. And it just feels like a very watered down version of what Ben Johnson used to do. Then we go to pass pro woes.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about Taylor Decker and how I feel like he might be done. As sad as it is to say, I think he's falling off. And yes, he's going against a great player like Alex Highsmith, but Taylor Decker being the left tackle here, he's going to set in a pass pro. And so that's not the one I was talking about. But either way, so they run a fairly basic stunt, but it should have 4-on-3 numbers if you're on the offense with Jahmyr Gibbs staying in to block. Yeah. But they do not block this stunt very well at all. There's a delayed blitz from the safety, and he just comes screaming in. No one's able to pick him up. But we have 3 guys on the left edge. On I believe it's either Highsmith or number 97. It's tough to tell right now.
Yeah.
But 3 guys end up on him. On the defensive tackle who ends up crossing the left guard's face. And it just makes for such an easy blitz. Yes, it's a good scheme from Pittsburgh, but it's a well-coached offensive line. And we wouldn't see this from Detroit in previous years. You got to be able to protect the QB here. This is what
It's a pretty good.
Go ahead.
Pretty good violation of protection here because this is the slide side, right? So they're going C, B, A, and then Gibbs is free. I'm assuming that typically when you're half slide, this guy's going to go to the right because you're going to man up. So it would be right guard on the 3 tech here, and then Sewell pushing to Sawyer. Obviously, Sawyer drops. So good design here. But he is scanning this way, so that's interesting. But yeah, like this is just a miscommunication, right? Like Gibbs has to take Duggar here because into the B gap here, the guard has him solidified, right? You're as a back, you're not helping on a massive D tackle like this,
No.
right? Like you kind of can, but this needs to be passed off. And then Gibbs needs to be here or vice versa. But it looks to me like he's the B gap guy, so Gibbs should be here if the extra guy's to that side. Again, not in the room, so don't know for sure, but that's typically how teams do it. Yeah. Not great.
No, Gibbs gets caught in no man's land. You're not going to be able to make a play on Duggar from there. And it's kind of what you wanted to see out of the Ravens defense, right? Like teams.
No, 100%. Exactly what I wanted to see.
Yeah. So this is where I talk about how Decker might be getting a little long in the tooth, might be a little cooked. It's just going to be a straight pass pro, and he's just going to get put on skates and just get moved completely around. Goff doesn't have the mobility to make a play out of here. He overextends trying to jump and reach to to Alex Highsmith, I do believe that is. And he just gets ran completely around. And Goff has no time to throw. The rest of the O-line doesn't really hold up either. But that's a tough.
Yeah, now he's got his step.
But that's a tough place to live. And I think if you just don't have the quickness to be able to go and meet those edge rushers, and I mean Highsmith isn't exactly like a screaming edge runner either. So if you're getting beat outside by him this badly, it just doesn't bode well.
Yeah, he's kind of a one-trick pony, but he does it really well, right? He's a really good speed rusher with that speed move around the edge, but you know that's coming, right? So I would say, I don't know if Decker's trying to jump set him rather, because this is play pass, yeah. So maybe, yeah. But I think you gotta, he does a pretty good job of like selling it for a step, and then he knows he's got to haul ass out. But yeah, you're right, he does just get beat here. So, and then the interior just doesn't have it.
No, and they're without their starting left guard, which hurts. But the left guard's the only one who actually holds up half decently.
Jeez, Cam Hayward is still so good. My God, I know I just said that, but man,
I was always hoping he'd be a Patriot. So when you're running game, Sorry, go.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
All right, so when your running game goes to Toots, typically what teams will do is just make their quick game an extension of the substitute for the run game. So then we start seeing a lot of 5 wide receiver sets, which, as I kind of said earlier, it just puts all the pressure on Jared Goff to find these holes in, which is fine in some sense because Goff is a stud and I love him and he can do absolutely no wrong. He's my precious little baby, besides Drake May. But it just puts a lot of pressure. It just puts a lot of pressure on that offense. And to just kind of prove it, like he finds the open slant and they're able to move the ball. But as a defensive coordinator, I'm sure you feel great about they don't have a run game. It's all going to be throws. It's either going to be quick game or if we can get them in bad passing situations, especially if the pass pro isn't going to hold up, we're going to be okay.
Especially like with a guy like Goff, if they're going empty all the time,
you're sending.
I'm running the Brian Flores if this was empty, it'd be a 6-up look rather than a 7-up look. And I would just be coming after Goff because he can't move. And I'd be dropping and just screwing with him.
Yeah.
Steelers decide just to rush 4, and they run the same buzz look here with Duggar coming down. But yeah.
Yeah. But Goff's able to pick it apart, find Gibbs here, first down. But it's just not where you want to live as an offensive mind, and it's definitely where you want to live as a defensive mind.
For sure.
And then I thought I would just throw this clip in because this is nothing wrong with anything. But I just love Jared Goff, and I thought this was a sick throw and a great catch by Tesla.
That is a big boy throw, as we would say.
Yeah, NFL open, but Goff's still flinging it. Great catch by Tesla. I think he's
one high post safety.
One high, looks him off to the right for a quick, just to freeze him, goes back left, puts it in Tesla's hands. Like, what a strike. I love Goff. I love him so much. But to summarize, you cannot win if you cannot run. The running game lacks any sort of creativity, dynamic movement, any answers in it, and it's just falling all on Goff to be a quick game. And in 3rd and 10s, 3rd and longs, it just becomes really tough for him for any offense really, to move the ball. And that's why we're seeing boos in Detroit.
Yeah, I appreciate Dan Campbell trying to promote from within, but sometimes just going for the sure thing is definitely the better choice. I will say, like, their offense has got better since he took over play calling duties. So I wonder if next year he just goes, I'm the guy, I'm calling it. Because apparently him and Ben Johnson were very much kind of on the same page. And if it's his offense from the start, I wonder if that looks better. We will see.
Yep.
I wonder what. Going to be an interesting situation in Detroit. This is a team that we thought was a true contender the last couple of years, and then injuries, etc., really have affected them. And yeah, might be time for a little bit of a reset here, as you said. But yeah, that does it for what's wrong with. Now going on to breaking the narrative. So Trayvon Walker, obviously probably not the correct draft pick when he was drafted. I think we can say with all certainty that Aiden Hutchinson probably should have been the pick there. And I think there's no doubt Hutchinson is the better player, speaking of Detroit. But what I will say is,
how much did that hurt you to say?
Yeah, a little bit.
Nick is not a fan of Hutchinson, kids.
I am now. I was a hater for a while, but I've come around. He's really good. He used to win in like really weird ways, and I'd be like, that's not, he didn't even really beat the tackle there. Now he straight up wins. He's the man. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong. I don't think Trayvon Walker is a bust. I think Trayvon, little bit of a late bloomer. You knew the big thing about him was he was super raw, and he was a ceiling pick kind of guy. I think with Trayvon, he was kind of misused for the start of his career, but now Dave Campanelli is doing an incredible job.
What a beautiful name.
Of using him in the proper way. The Jaguars defensive coordinator. So great. Trayvon is kind of your guy where on early downs, you want him outside against the run because he knocks up tackles and tight ends that they can't block him. He gets extension. Also, he struggled this year early on because he hurt his hand and had a club and couldn't get extension and with that hand, so that hurt him. Now he's starting to heal. In the last couple of weeks, he's looked exceptional. So on early downs, that's what you want him doing. On passing downs, I think he's better inside of the 3 technique or as an inside stunter from the outside. We'll show some clips here. He's starting to win on the edge too, and he was going against Mike McGlinchey this week of the Denver Broncos and looked really good. He put him on skates a couple times, and I do think he's getting better at that, but I want to see him inside more, and when they've been doing that, he's been effective. So we will go to that in just a sec here. First clip here. So, In the past, the big issue with the Jaguars has been they haven't had an additional edge. Like they had Caleb Von Chase on, who really struggled. Now I know he's really started to pick it up and stuff like that, but having Gardeck in here has just made a huge difference. He's just a solid presence on the edge, and that's allowed Jacksonville to move Trayvon inside on true passing downs. Now you have Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon on the same side here. This is kind of scary from an offensive perspective here. So here's Trayvon against a guard. Absolutely no chance. No sack, obviously, on this play, but he wins really quickly. Like, let's count here. Ball snap, 1,000, 2,000. That's about as fast as a win as you're going to get inside.
Yeah.
Little like basketball Euro step move, little inside club, get off me. There's some pressure. So I want to see more of this on true passing downs, especially him expanded in like a wide 3, almost 4-eye here with Hines Allen on the other side. This is a deadly look for the Jaguars, and he is so good in this look.
Euros, both delicious and great pass rush moves.
That is, sorry, this is the wrong. That was the one I meant to delete.
Label your clips, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here is Trayvon on the outside here, going against a very stout right tackle. Pushing the pocket, Nix is forced to check down right away. But again, this is with the defensive tackles of the Jaguars doing a good job collapsing the pocket. This is a pretty quick win, right? So 1,000, 2,000. He's right at
you got to check it down right there. Seconds.
Yeah. Exactly. Converged by 3 Jags. Trayvon, this is a win here for him as well. Starting to get a lot better and really come into his own, even on the edge. Mm-hmm. I do think he's more effective inside on passing downs, but he can still do it from the edge. All right. From the edge again, Jaguars in an all-out zero look here. This actually ends up being a touchdown, I believe. But look at this. Look at Trayvon on this inside stunt. He's going to hit the tackle here and just absolutely bitch him. Bang. On his butt, right? Like, he's so strong at the point of attack. If they use him more in this way rather than, hey, Trayvon, just go win on the edge, he's so effective and he's such a weapon to utilize here. Obviously, this ends up being a touchdown.
I'm a big hater, but that is a great throw by Bo Nix.
Yes, it definitely is.
And if you're forcing QBs to make throws like that, like as a defensive lineman, you're doing your job.
Absolutely. Here's Trayvon on the edge again. Watch him just put McGlinchey on skates. Like, my word.
Yeah. And that's terrifying.
So powerful.
That's terrifying for a QB.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in that situation more than a couple times in my career, and you just take the snap and you just see your because like your right tackle's right in your eye line, right? Like, especially if you're reading right, like that's called the blind side on your left for a reason. You take the snap and you just see this terrifying monstrosity of a human being pushing a 300-pound man into your lap. It speeds up that internal clock. But one thing that these clips are really reminiscent to me of as a Patriots fan is the way that the Patriots deployed Trey Flowers. So on running downs, they would put him on the outside and kind of was able to contain the edge. And then on passing downs, they would shift him inside, put him and Chandler Jones on the same side. And they would just run amok on the outside, leading to Chandler Jones and Trey Flowers having multiple 10-sack seasons.
So I think that's actually a good comp for what Trayvon can be. I think he can be better than that, but like the same sort of player, right? Like I know people might not value like being able to set a pick in the stunt game, but because he's so powerful, he's just going to absolutely open up lanes for defensive tackles or linebackers for that matter, stunting back outside or vice versa, right? Like that is actually very, very valuable. He's good at that. He can win one-on-one inside, and you're starting to see him win on the edge now. He's not a bust. He's a little bit of a late bloomer. And I think by season end and starting into next year, I think you're going to have a conversation with him being in the top 15, top 10 defensive lineman, because I don't think he's a pure edge. I think he's kind of a hybrid guy that can do both. So I think he is starting to get to that point, and that is a very good thing to see as a Jaguars fan, because people talking about this guy maybe being bust for a little bit, but I don't think that is the truth at all. I think he's really starting to come into his own, and I really like what I've seen the last about 3 to 4 weeks since his hand has started to get better. So very encouraging stuff for the Jaguars this season, which is a really nice breath of fresh air for me personally. And it's nice not to be like, oh my God, we're terrible. It's nice to enjoy watching games each week, even when they lose. They are competitive in every game, and they have a chance here with being the 3rd seed currently at 11-4. They can win out, maybe get a loss from the Broncos. They obviously have the tiebreaker of the Broncos. Could be the 1 seed if the Patriots could lose too. Wouldn't that be quite the turnaround? And maybe Liam Cohen gets his coach of the year if that occurs. So we will see. We will see. That'll do it here for us today. Another long episode, hour 11, hour 12-ish. Not bad, Dave. Great week of football. We will be back next week, but we hope you guys enjoy your holidays. Christmas here coming up on Thursday. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and we will see you guys next year. Probably
week.
It'll be next year. It'll be in the new year.
Oh, will it?
It'll be in the new year. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a Christmas Eve, or sorry, New Year's Eve thing. But we will be back next week, either in the new year or just before. We'll keep you guys guessing, but we will be back nonetheless. Thank you for joining us on the Film Grinders podcast. I'm Nicholas Hauka for David Hollinshead. Thank you for tuning in, guys.